Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's Jessica Jones. I'm the Cryptid Huntress, and welcome to A Glitch in the Matrix. I'm your host. Man, do we have another great show in store for all of you guys today. I have our friend Dennis Carroll here in the studio with us today, and we're going to be talking about something that could potentially affect all of our lives in some way or another. And we're going to be talking about secret societies and shape-shifting. Okay, and I know this could be a touchy subject, but when are we not talking about something that could be potentially touchy on the Cryptid Huntress channel? Okay, but yeah, this is something that we're going to get into a whole lot of different facets of this today. And Dennis is such a wealth of knowledge. He is the perfect co-host for us to have today on this, because this does dive into demonology, people being possessed. We're even going to talk about some satanic rituals that have been going on in the public. Okay, so please go get your popcorn. I know it's early for some of y'all. It's late for others. But get ready and buckle your seatbelts, because we are going down the rabbit hole again today. Okay, if you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows, please go to my website. That's thecryptidhuntress.com. You can find all of the information you need about yours truly right there, and all of the shows and the events that I'm going to be speaking at and making an appearance at. So y'all come see me. I will be at, Reno, Nevada next month, May 10th through 12th at the Spaced Out Radio fan party. I don't know a whole lot of details, so y'all go to the website on spacedoutradio.com. I'm just showing up and having a good time. Okay, so y'all come see me at that. And then also we've got, I got the Squatch Out coming up. I think that's in September up in East Tennessee. That's on my calendar. And I also have the Full Disclosure Now conference in July. That's down in St. Pete, Florida. Okay, man, I see everybody in the chat. Hey, what's up? Hey, Catherine, what's up, cuz? Okay, it's so good to see everybody here. All right, if you guys would like to support my work, I do have a Patreon. That's the Cryptid Huntress on Patreon. And shout out to everybody who's been supporting me through my shop. That's called War Woman Goods. I do throw in free merch with every purchase of the Cryptid Huntress. Okay, Cryptid Huntress merch, can't go wrong. So thank you for all your support. Okay, well, I don't want to waste any time. We have a lot to unpack today, so I would like to introduce my co-host today. We have Dennis Carroll here. He has over 40 years of experience in the field of the paranormal. He studied and investigated many aspects pertaining to the paranormal and the supernatural, with many paranormal experiences. He's also a researcher and investigator of the occult and the supernatural. He's a well-known UFO and cryptid researcher. He's a speaker, performs lectures on presentations on the culture, folklore, myths, and legends. You can find him at his YouTube channel that's called Hunting the Shadows. Please help me welcome to the show today, Dr. Dennis Carroll.
Good afternoon. Good to see you again.
It's good to see you too, Dennis. Thank you so much for being here. I think you're the perfect co-host for this show today, considering we're talking about secret societies and shapeshifters.
Mm-hmm. This is going to be a very dark subject, definitely, because this goes deep into satanic worship, stuff like that. Demonology is another aspect of it. This is a very, very dark subject, and I'll warn everybody out there listening now that this is kind of has some horrific elements to it, but that's what we're going to be talking about today. And you know, Jessica, secret societies are worldwide in every culture. We all know the most famous one of all, the Illuminati. Supposedly, it's been around for almost 1,000 years. The Rosicrucians have been around a long time. The list goes on and on. Even the Vril. You know, we've talked about the Vril. Which was a secret occult German type secret society, which actually started in Britain, which is very strange. And as a matter of fact, I was looking at the list the other day on secret societies, and the Order of the Orientis is a secret society that's based not too far from where you're at in Atlanta.
Oh.
So they're everywhere. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I would not doubt that. We have a lot of interesting things going on around, and dare I say underground. Okay, like underground. I don't just mean physically underground, but a lot of underground stuff going on behind the scenes. A lot of like dark culture, I guess you could say. sinister things going on. And I guess you could call that underground, I guess, especially around Atlanta, a lot of the big cities. And yeah, I don't know a whole lot about it other than what I've researched, because I've not been a part of that. Okay. I was part of the club scene for a while. That's different. Okay. So yeah, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And what we're experiencing right now in culture, pop culture especially, especially I know a lot of people watching today are fans of pop music and rap music. Okay. And any kind of popular music. And these concerts, people are going in and experiencing flat out, straight up satanic rituals on stage. And by being there, become part of that while they're there in the audience. And this has a lot of really strange, crazy implications, in my opinion, because when you're consenting by paying a ticket, going in there, they're performing rituals on stage, and it's in the form or in the disguise or guise of artistic expression. What kind of implications does that have, Dennis?
Well, the interesting thing, Jessica, like you said, it's been underground for a long time, but now it's sort of coming out more and more. And we've done shows on that before about the symbolism that the secret language that they're putting forth. They're making this a normal thing, okay, to be more accepted in society from what it has ever been before in the history of mankind. It is being pushed out there because it is being presented not to us, the old diehards like us, and I'm not going to put you as old, okay, but the old diehards. We know that we know what the score is on it, but this younger generation is being introduced to this on a much larger scale than ever before, and that's frightening in many aspects.
Well, it is. And I mean, we could go in so many different directions on this topic here today, because I like to do shows. I like to put out information that affects a lot of people. Okay, things that affect people, and then we kind of become aware of these things, and then when you can shine light on it, we can. I don't want to say work against it, but we can just be aware of it and avoid it. Maybe avoid it. Maybe that's the best thing to do with a lot of this, is just avoid it, right?
Right, definitely. I mean, if you are aware of what's going on, you're not, it cannot be superstitiously put up under your radar, so to speak, if you're aware of what's going on. And a lot of this, like I said, this symbolism is to sort of soften the ground for the belief in this, to sort of initiate discipleship almost in it. Take someone who's very popular like Taylor Swift or someone like that, who's looked up to by a younger generation, has many fans. They're put on a high pedestal. These people have a media type power about them, okay, and the symbolism that they wear, that makes it cool for the rest of the generations that follow them. They say, "Oh, this is so and so does this. Oh, that's cool. We got to do it too," kind of thing. And that's how you sell things. That's how you actually, Jessica, when you think about it, darkness is being marketed here. Okay, and
Oh,
its market
absolutely.
is to the younger generation, definitely.
Yeah, well, I'm actually showing the audience right now, for the people who are watching on the screen. You can see it. People who are listening on podcast right now, go to my YouTube channel and check this out, because we're showing people like Doja Cat and Sam Smith, and I don't know who this person is, but all these different concerts where it is clearly there's something very dark going on here. This is actually Madonna, I believe. Now, someone in the chat was mentioning Doja Cat and Travis Scott, and there was a concert about 3 years ago where it was called Astro World, where he actually had it was almost like a ritual. I don't want to say a ritual sacrifice, but that kind of
what you're seeing, what you're basically seeing, Jessica, are rituals. Okay, they are doing rituals, whether they know it or not, and I think most of the time they know that. But they are doing rituals, and rituals are all about, just like what we're talking about today, secret societies. They have their rituals. Satanic worshippers, they have their rituals. All this is based on rituals. And what is a ritual? A ritual is an action, sort of moving on your faith in whatever it is you're believing in. That is what rituals are all about. Okay. And rituals activate power, so to speak. When you do the rituals, that's how you actually cast spells and curses. You do a little ritual with it. Okay. That's the way it goes. And that's what you see in taking place here. And that is worship is a ritual in itself in that way. You know what I'm saying?
It is. Okay, well these people that are idolized, okay, like the pop singers and everybody that I just showed on that list right there of people, they're obviously, it's very satanic to me, like with Lil Wayne's eyeballs rolled back in his head, and even
Mm-hmm.
that the young lady that had the upside down cross on her necklace, hanging out with Taylor
Mm-hmm.
Swift. And Taylor Swift, and here's something else that's interesting, and we've discussed this before in past shows. Um, there's an odd similarity, a familiarity here
Oh,
of
yeah.
Taylor Swift and
It is an
what's her name?
uncanny
Lana Del
resemblance
Rey.
there.
Yeah,
Yes.
leading some people to say
Yeah.
that is that her
Weird.
clone? What's
Yeah.
going on with that? So,
Well, let me show you this too. So a lot of that stuff you were showing just now. Look at the predominant color in all this. It's red, red, red. You would think evil would be black, okay? But it's red. You see a lot of red going on here. Of course, you got black too, but you see a lot of red. What does that red stand for?
blood.
Blood. And that's what you do in these rituals. And you will see before long, if it's not already going on and we just don't know it, you will see blood rituals actually being performed in these things. You'll see actual bloodletting going on. That's going to be the next step. When you see that happen, you will know without a single doubt that they are going into dark ritualistic magic. That's what that bloodletting thing is all about. Blood sacrifices, the blood tie. You hear it over and over and over again throughout all this stuff. Blood, 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 blood. Okay. Well, as the Bible says, the blood is the life. And that's what you're dealing with here. You're dealing with aspects of life and the way that they take it and the way that they want power over it. And that's the way that ritualistic stuff goes.
Well, there's a whole lot of rituals taking place, and it's not just at the concerts, it's in the music, and we were talking about how it used to be underground, and it was a little more hidden from us. And, we used to be told, don't listen to a record backwards, because when you listen to a record backwards, it says it has like satanic incantations in it, right? But now, it's really easy for them just to go in and put like digital stuff that in the frequencies that we can't hear with our human ears into the music, and it's got something that it gets into our subconscious mind, especially with that. I mean, the music today kind of sucks. That's my opinion. Okay.
Well, I did a
It's repetitive.
I did a show recently on Hunting the Shadows about our technology being infiltrated, compromised by these things. Our technology is going to be part of it. I call our technology today, I give it another name, modern day alchemy. That's what it basically is. And they're using it that way, okay? And you can see this happen in not just entertainment, but in all other fields, science, religion, it all goes on and on and on. You see this modern day alchemy being performed. And alchemy is a dark kind of a magic, okay? That's where actual true science originally supposedly began with alchemists, but chemicals, really, basically, you put it that way. But that's what we've got going on today, and it ties into all this stuff that you're talking about here. Alchemy is part of the equation, and like I said before, they're making this look cool. They're making it look like the end thing to do. They're making it look like something you've got to have in your life, an aspect you've got to have in your life. That's what bothers me about it. It's sort of an indoctrination in it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is cool, Barry. We'll go back to that towards the end of the show today. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, It is an indoctrination, and the people who are doing these concerts and that are popular, they do have an effect on our children. And I have a kid, okay, and so he doesn't listen to any of that music for the most part. I mean, unfortunately, he does like stuff that's popular on TikTok though. So I always have to watch him, and that's really important. Because it does really lower the vibrational frequency of everybody who's listening to a lot of this stuff. And there was a point, I think it was like when I was it had to be when I was in college or beyond. After that, I started noticing that a lot of the music that I listened to was like super dumbed down. God, I hate to say that, but I felt like it was becoming like more mindless listening. And maybe it was just because I was maturing, okay, and I was noticing it. But like back in the 1990s, we had like, it felt like educational, like uplifting type of music to me. Okay. And now it's just like repetitive mumbling and stuff. And it's odd how this is just kind of, it shifted. Okay. It shifted in a downward spiral, in my opinion. Okay. That's just my opinion. Okay. But it does have to do with some of, I don't know. It just feels bad. It doesn't feel good. And everything just started kind of coming together for me when we're studying all these cryptids. Dennis, I'm looking into like werewolves, and there's like that debate of like dogman versus werewolf, and shapeshifters, skinwalkers. Well, when I'm doing some research, I stumbled across a gentleman who I refer to pretty often. I need to get this guy on my show. Okay, I need to bring him on sometime. But his name is Bill Schnoebelen. Gosh, I talk about this guy a lot. And he used to be a vampire. Okay, I believe he's a rabbi today. But he gives this really cool lecture at the Prophecy Club. So y'all look up Bill Schnoebelen at the Prophecy Club. And he talks about how he used to be a vampire because he was part of the Brotherhood of Satan. And this is something that he did in the 1980s, I believe. And he disclosed that within that organization, which is a secret, I would consider that a secret society in some ways. He said that they would, once you reach a certain level of this society, of this brotherhood, you were given the option of becoming a vampire or becoming a werewolf. And he went through everything that it took to become a vampire and a werewolf, and the effects that it had on the body. Now, is this just the Brotherhood of Satan? Now, is this even real? Do you think, Dennis?
Well, like I said earlier about the rituals, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. They're geared for these things. And I have said this for years. You're just echoing what I've said for years about in the demonology connection on this. The vampires and werewolves are real. And when I tell people that, they you've lost it, Dennis. Okay, you're already gone around a bend there on it. But no, they are real from a demonological point of view, because you do have wolf spirits. You do have vampire spirits, and a lot of these people, like that man, and I watched that show you're talking about in reference to. It was fascinating stuff, and I know all about this, and I'll tell you why. Because this is all part of the rituals and the stuff that they do to obtain their demonic power. Whether you do this through the means of voodoo or whatever kind of magic you're trying to do this to, your main thrust is to plug in. I call it plugging it in. You want to plug into the power, and that's what they're trying to do. And in order to do that, you have to bring that power inside of yourself. You have to let it inside into your spirit and inhabit your body with you. When you bring these spirits into you, you are being what? Possessed. Okay, that's what you basically are. You are being demonically possessed. And when you allow these spirits in you, there will be outward signs. As it says, it's very plain to see whatever is inside of you, Jessica, will eventually show up on the outside. Okay? And I'm not talking about the physical part of you, okay? I'm talking about the spiritual part of you. Okay? Go ahead.
Okay. I want to talk about this real quick, because this is exactly what I was thinking about. If it came up, I was going to bring this up today, because I just showed Beyonce. And I love Beyonce as a singer. She's a wonderful performer. Wonderful. I respect her for that. However, she's got a lot of interesting things that she does with like the hand symbols and a lot of like just satanic kind of stuff potentially going on with her. And she did this interview, which I just showed a where she actually is being interviewed, and she's talking about how her alter ego takes over when she puts her, before she goes on stage, she puts her hands in the air and she waits for whatever it is to enter her body. Sasha Fierce, she says. And a lot of these, and that's where she gets her, I want to say ego, that's where she gets her fire inside of her to go out there and perform as hard as she does. She goes hard on stage, okay? She's a amazing performer. But she and other performers as well, including there's a performer called Nicki Minaj as well, and she has a lot of different alter egos, okay? And I'm only bringing this up because it seems as though they're calling these things, and I'm not saying, because it could be a mental disorder, okay? Could be that. I'm no doctor. Don't take my advice. This is for entertainment purposes only, okay? But it could be they're calling in different entities into their bodies. I mean, is that even possible, Dennis?
No, that's the way it works. I mean, that's just the way. That's what a lot of these rituals and stuff are geared to. You allow this power inside of you because this darkness can then do things that you want done, whatever the situation may be. Whether you want fame, glory, power, money, whatever it is you're after, that's what's going to help you do it. Because, like I said, that's the power base that you're plugging into spiritually. Okay, and just like you mentioned earlier, you can watch some movies, and I've had people say they've played some video games or read some books or whatever that gives you that bad spiritual feeling. Why? There is a built-in sort of a compass in you, okay, sort of a spiritual compass, and when something hits it that's not good, when you get dinged by the darkness, okay, you're gonna know it. All right, and it's gonna stain you like a little bit, and it's not. But when you become desensitized to that, it gets done so much over and over and over again. You built up sort of a leather surface to it, and the dinging doesn't bother you anymore. Then that's what this stuff wants. That's what it wants to foster. It wants to get you desensitized to the point where you will allow this into you more and more and more. And that's how a lot of, unfortunately to say this, possession begins. You allow it in, you open that doorway, however you open that door, and you can do it different ways. You can do it with drugs, you can do it with music, you can do it with entertainment, you can do it with pornography, you can do it with gambling, alcohol, whatever the situation is. Once you kick that door open spiritually, you allow these things that opportunity to come in. That's what you better watch out for.
Ooh, and that's why I mentioned when people buy tickets to these concerts and places where they're going to be doing these rituals, a lot of them are unknowingly walking into a ritual that they basically have consented to. Okay, they consented to go in there. I mean, I would think by just going. And now the connection with the concerts, right, and the secret societies is a lot of these performers, I would assume, are in secret societies, or at least that's what I've been told. So, and it doesn't just have to be. Well, you mentioned the Illuminati or whatever. There's a whole bunch of different secret societies they could be in. Okay, so it's not, I don't think it's just that one. There's probably more, I would assume. But
well, and very much. I'm just sitting here thinking when you were saying that it's very much like the vampire of old or the evil spirits. You have to invite them in. Okay, I've had a lot of people ask me that over the years, Jessica. So can I just be walking down the street and bam, I get possessed all of a sudden? It don't work that way. Okay, it doesn't go that way. You have to open that door, however you do it, and that's what we've got to be so very careful about. And that's what these entertainers are doing. When they do this kind of stuff, they're kind of opening the door for you a little bit. They're helping you open that door. Like Just like, I've had a lot of cases where people say I was sitting alone in my house and somebody called my name, said, "Hey, Jessica," you know, and I said, "What? What? Don't ever do that. Don't ever answer this. Okay, find out who or what it is calling you first before you answer, definitely." But it's almost as if they're being called out on this kind of stuff, That's what that is concerning but these celebrities do not realize, Jessica, not just the political, but the spiritual power that they already hold over, especially the younger generations. They do not realize, what they are being used for, whether they know it or not, or really realize it or not. They are instruments, the instrumentality of this stuff. And we don't want to be the instruments. We used to have a saying in law enforcement, it's bad enough to get shot at. It's even worse when you gave them the bullets. You don't give your enemy the ammunition. The
That's
way that
right.
goes.
That's right. Well, I'd like to address the shape-shifting once you hit a certain level in the secret societies, because apparently that's a thing where you can, because according to that gentleman that I pulled the picture of, Bill Schnoebelen, he says that once he reached, I don't know which level, it was one of the highest levels of the Brotherhood, he was able to become a vampire, and his body actually morphed into a real vampire, to where even his blood would give people highs. And when he would take the blood of other people, usually women, it was almost like an amphetamine of some sort of something that was like an upper, like that would get him super high, and he craved it just like drugs.
I'm gonna get some people mad at me here. It's kind of like the Masons, okay? The Masonic. In the Masons, you have degrees that you go in. You get so many degrees, you go up, and that's the way it goes with this kind of stuff. Okay, there's so many degrees and so many levels that you can reach, and the higher up you go, the more bloodletting you do, and this gets very horrific. In order to obtain these levels, you have to do terrible things. Okay, and I'm not going to get too deep into a lot of description on what things you have to do, but there are some terrible things you have, and each level requires more and more terrible things to reach. And whatever degree you reach, the higher degree you go, the more power you are given. And the more power you are given, you get what I would say sort of like superhero powers. Okay, you get some weird stuff. You get telekinesis. You get the list goes on and on and on. You also get the ability to shapeshift. And we've talked about this before, especially when we did werewolf shows and all that. The power to shapeshift is the premier number one power of the supernatural. Okay, mesmerism is another one. That's where you can actually get people under your power, like the vampires in the old movies. Look in my eyes. Look into my eyes. By the way, I've always cautioned people: do not look into those eyes. Okay, that's not a good idea, especially if you think you're facing something demonic. It is never a good idea to make eye contact with them. But you have mesmerism, you have shape-shifting. The list goes on and on, the powers that you can obtain. But you have to do horrible things to acquire that power. You have to kill your sibling. You have to murder people. Okay, that's bad enough. But and it's not just the way, you just don't walk up and kill somebody. You do it ritualistically. And being in law enforcement, I have seen ritual murders. Okay, and they are horrific. You're just talking about basically, Jessica, torturing people to death in the most horrible way you can imagine. But this is how you obtain demonic power, the levels of demonic power. And it's never a good thing. It's never a good way to go. This is true darkness in its complete form.
Wow. Okay, so basically, when people get to those certain levels, those high levels of these secret societies, and I don't mean all of them, but maybe there's a couple at least that I've been told about, they do rituals to be inhabited by demons. Basically, is what this is. And so, of course, you have actually participated in some exorcisms, from what I can recall. And so that's why I've done some research on exorcisms and what all that entails, and what the power of when we talk about the power that they're given when they are inhabited by demons, they take over the demon has all the power, obviously, but it gives them superhuman strength. And people who are possessed, and like you said, when you were working in law enforcement, I was reading that, I mean, you could just with their teeth alone, they could bite your neck and you die immediately. I mean, it is horrific. Like when they say ritual unalivings, as we say on YouTube, it's, I mean, they're ripping, and it sounds a lot. They're like I was going to say, ripping body parts and stuff. It sounds very much like werewolf, like something we would think a werewolf would do in a vampire.
Well, you know, if I were to, like, say, I'm just going to hypothetically say this, okay, hypothetically, if I were to like want to become a vampire, and that's saying that's the degree of power I want to get, and I allow this vampire spirit into me, I will begin to take on the attributes of that vampire. Okay, I will only come out at night or whatever the situation is. I feel like I want to be a vampire, I'll do that. But also, it also goes into the spiritual aspects of you. So if you were to meet me in this vampire state, I would probably not suck the blood out of you, but I would I would feed off your energy, your life essence. That's basically what these things do. Although there is some bloodletting too with it. I'm not going to rule that out, but that's not the main focus. That's the Hollywood part of it. We got to forget about that. What we're dealing with here is the demonic. And the demonic works on its own levels, and it's got its. I've said this before. This is kind of freaky to think about. The demonic has its own manual that it goes by. Okay, it's very well organized in that respect. It's mind blowing how very intelligent these things can be in the aspects and the way they do things. But these rituals that we talked about earlier as being so horrific, they involve trauma and pain on a level that are mind blowing. Okay, let me illustrate just one right quick for you. And this is a Scottish witchcraft thing. It was called the Tagerne. The Tagerne, and this is going to offend some people, I know, but I'm sorry. But what the Tagerne entails is that you go out in the neighborhood and round up as many cats as possible. I'm talking about house cats, okay? And you bag them all up and you bring them in.
Oh, gosh.
And one by one.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, it's bad on the cats. It's bad for the cat lovers out here. Okay, so you bag these cats up and you bring them in, and during your ritual, one by one, you roast these cats alive over an open fire. They scream in constant pain and trauma, and we're talking about one cat after another, after another, after another. You do this horrific ritual to present on the altar of your worship this pain and trauma, this torture that you're doing to these small animals. Then that's just one level that you would do this on. Okay, I'm just telling you about this to illustrate the point. The next level up might be bigger animals. Next time it might be horses or cows or something like that. And then the next level up will, of course, be human beings. So the list goes up and up and up. The more power you obtain, the more is required. Let me tell you this there's one thing we got to keep in mind, Jessica, about demonic possession and allowing spirits in us and all this. If we allow these spirits in us, and this goes on after time, after time, after time, the more these spirits go in us, the more they work in us. It is like a narcotic. The more we get, the more it wants. And the stronger it grows in us. Eventually, you're just stuck way down inside there somewhere. And the evil spirit has completely taken your body over. It has completely overthrown you. You no longer have any control over anything anymore. You remember that very famous scene in The Exorcist, where they said, "Where is Reagan at? She's in here with us." And there was more than one in there, okay? And that's the way they do these things. And that's why I say, when you mess around with this darkness, it keeps wanting more and more and more and more. It's never satisfied. with just a little bit of you. Okay, that's the way it works.
Gosh, that's pretty terrifying. And to have our kids being targeted at this point, because it is kind of the kids, okay, with a lot of this popular music and stuff, where and these pop stars. I mean, I personally don't listen to Taylor Swift. Okay, I mean, I do sometimes. I used to love her music when it'd come on the radio, but I just don't listen to the radio anymore. I'm one of those Spotify girls. I got a few songs I listen to when I'm in the car, and that's it at this point. But yeah, it is kind of targeting the children, and to think of how sinister a lot of this agenda is. I guess it's an agenda, but it's an agenda for our souls. Okay, to take to.
Well,
to
let you know, one thing we've said before about that, Jessica, and I'm not trying to get down on rap music here, but rap music is sort of ritualistic when you think about it. Chanting is a ritual part, even if it's, Gregorian chant or whatever. It is ritualistic, okay? Why are you chanting the same things over and over and over again? You know why? You're trying to form that in your mind. You're trying to activate those images in your mind and bring them to life. That's basically what you're doing. You're trying to bring them, to birth them, you might say. In that respect, that's what rituals are all about. You do it over and over and over again, and finally it will what? Become real. That's the interesting part of it. Yeah. And a lot of this music that you hear today, whether it's pop music, rap music, whatever, it's kind of if you listen to it, it's kind of rich. Music in itself is ritualistic. It brings up emotions in you. It brings feelings up in you. And what have I said before about demonic possession and all that stuff? The way they attack you. They attack you physically, mentally, spiritually, and what? Emotionally. And that's where music comes in, and entertainment and all that stuff. Think about those movies that you watch. Have you ever watched a movie that completely had no music at all in it? You felt there's something missing here in this movie, because if you watch especially horror movies, they set the stage to manipulate your emotions in that movie with the music. That's what it's all about.
I never even thought about that, but you're right. It is. It does. It gets you. It gets you at the edge of your seat, and it's that suspenseful music, and especially in horror flicks. Okay, like Friday the 13th and Michael Myers and all that kind of stuff. It's that's you gotta have the music. Gotta have the music. We have a question in the chat. Dennis, we have Outside Tesseract asks, "Are you still conscious when the demon has taken over?" That's a great question.
Oh, yeah. You know it like you're in there with them, but there's not a whole. It's like I said before. It sounds like somebody else is driving your car and you're in the back seat. That's the way that goes. You're in the back seat, or you may not even. You may be in the trunk actually, depending on how badly you get possessed. But you have no longer control over things like that. You have motor control maybe for a while, but even that is finally lost. That's why these things. That's why the word possession means to overtake completely. That's basically what that means.
Well, I've always wondered that because I mean, I have some pictures of like people turning into werewolves. I mean, I've actually been sent pictures that were alleged real pictures of real men a man turning into a werewolf. Okay, in real life.
Well, I've actually participated in exorcisms, and I've actually seen people's faces change. I mean, and I'm not talking about just a little bit. I mean, it's a very dramatic change. And you can tell that there's something inside so dark, so evil that is coming out on the surface, And that's where that's where the metamorphosis begins, Jessica. It comes from the inside out. You ever seen a werewolf movie? It's always from the inside out. The wolf comes through, and that's the way it really does work. In that respect, it's coming from the inside, the darkness inside. There's that saying that if the eye is light, then you're okay. But if the eye is full of darkness, how great is that darkness? It has to come out somewhere. And we've talked about this demon face syndrome thing, which is really extremely rare. It is a like I said, we said before earlier, it is a paranormal psychosis kind of a thing. It is very, very rare. But I think most of the time what you're seeing is not demon face syndrome. I think what you're seeing sometimes when you see these images are the real person on the inside coming out. These eyes it's the eyes are the windows of the soul. That's the first thing that you watch for. Those eyes change, that eye change. Then you will see other characteristics begin. You may catch a flash for a moment. There's an old superstition. I'm just going to mention this because I found it fascinating. That supposedly, if you hold a mirror at somebody's face at exactly the stroke of midnight, and it's got to be right up against their face, okay, that you can see what the true image of that person really is. Now, there you got some great examples of what I've actually seen that happen on people's faces. The mouth becomes elongated, the teeth seem to grow longer, the eyes begin to almost like the eyes of a serpent, like a snake or a lizard kind of a thing. I have actually seen that take place, and it is a horrific thing to see. Trust me, you do not want to see it. It is the stuff of nightmares, actually,
It is.
definitely.
Okay, Dennis, I had to actually type this out today so I could show it to the audience. It's called
Uh-huh.
Metaphorposia. I can't even say
Right, of
it.
course, it's that.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
the word, and it's the demon face syndrome, and so they call it PMO for short. Now, there's been a confirmed 75 people that have this. Now, this article that I found came out about 2 weeks ago. Okay, so this is kind of new to me. This is new. I'd never heard of it. That picture that I just showed was making the rounds on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, all over social media, and people were suspicious, okay, to say the least. And I know, Dennis, you said that you know what this is better than I do, but from the general public's side of this, they were a little suspicious because with the thinning of the veil and a lot of truth coming to light, people were
Uh-huh.
insinuating and assuming that potentially they're putting this information out there. They are putting this information out
There's a
because people's true forms are about to start showing, and they need an excuse.
there's a great scene on that in the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose, where she is so where this of course demonic possession, not demon face thing, but I mean it illustrates it perfectly because she's walking down the street. Everybody she sees the face becomes elongated looking, the demonic thing going on. That would have to be a horrible way to live when you think about it, to see this constantly all the time. But that was a great scene in The Exorcism of Emily Rose. It's very much like what you're talking about here. Actually, it is one reason I call it a paranormal psychosis. It is a very bizarre thing when you think about it. That, a lot of these people may not even believe demons exist, and they're seeing this, kind of a thing going on. So you have to say it is sort of a paranormal psychosis type thing, really. But it
Yes.
isn't. But it's very extremely rare. Extremely, thank gosh, it's extremely rare.
Well,
But it would
it
be a
used to
horrible
be
way to
rare.
live, definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, it is rare. However, what if, and I want to stop and say thank you, Addicted to Knowledge 3039. Thank you so much for that super sticker. I appreciate that very much. Yes, we are hitting everybody with the truth today as we know it and spreading that positive knowledge. I appreciate that so much. Um, so there's like 75 confirmed cases of PMO, but what if this is just kind of a precursor to put it out there to let people know in case they do start seeing people that look demonic out there? I mean, that could also be part of what's going on
Well,
too, I think.
let me say this, Jessica. It's a very real possibility that they're misdiagnosing some people with this. Okay, because some people may be seeing the real true form. Let me say this, okay? There is, I guess you could call it a psychic power or spiritual power that you can be given called, you can discern things. And discern not only means to be able to hear the truth, but sometimes to see the true forms of things. And that may be what some of these people are picking up on, this discernment, the spiritual discernment. They may be actually seeing the true forms hidden from us. Everybody, there's no saying that we all wear masks. and we never show our true selves to each other and all that stuff. And that is true on a psychological basis. I guess it is very true in the spin. But if we are truly evil inside and we're trying to hide that evil, a lot of times it doesn't work out that well. Look at Hitler for a while. I mean, you can watch that guy for a while, and you're looking at pure evil there for a while, or you look in the eyes of Charles Manson, and what's staring back at you. I have actually looked into human eyes and seen that kind of inhuman evil looking back, and it's not a good thing to see, but it's there without a doubt. And here's another aspect of this, and let me just say this right quick. Did you know a possessed person's eyes pupils will dilate? And we're not talking about drugs. You can be on drugs to do that. We're not talking about eye drops. We're talking about they will actually dilate. It's almost, now here's the weird thing, okay? It's almost as if there's so much darkness inside that person, their pupils are opening up to try to get as much light in as possible.
I've experienced
That's a weird thing.
I've seen that.
It's almost like a spiritual reaction kind of thing.
Yes, I've seen that twice. I did have a person, and Firewater by Design says my ex's eyes would turn black before he became violent. Okay, well, I'm not going to name names in my instance, but I was at the hospital with having an incident with somebody, and this person was put into one of those MRI machines. Now, Barry Littleton's in the chat today. Hey, Barry. He talks about the gray overlay and how sometimes the dark entities will come out of the MRI machines. Okay, and so it made me wonder, and this guy was under, I'm going to say duress, maybe, I don't know if that's the word. He was under an influence of something, and I'm going to say drugs. Okay, probably. But anyways, he had done something. Okay, and they were having to put him in an MRI machine, and he kept fighting off this MRI machine, didn't want to get in there. And when he came out, his eyes were completely black. I was scared. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be anywhere near him. And I actually had to go, and this is so private, and I don't really talk about this ever, but I actually went and consulted with the police officer that was there because I was scared of this person. Because his eyes, and I have witnesses to it, his eyes turned completely black.
No,
So
I've seen that
I know
happen.
that happens.
Yeah. It is.
Sure.
And like I said, what's ever on the inside eventually comes out, and it affects the outside, put it that way. Definitely. And I think what some of these people may be seeing, they may be misdiagnosed as having demon face syndrome. They may be actually seeing the true images of these people. We've all seen, a lot of the video clips of the eye changes and all that stuff. And I know a lot of that's probably AI manipulated or CGI manipulated or whatever, but some of it may be real. We've got to. Here's the interesting thing about this world we live in today, Jessica, and we got to always remember this, and I'm gonna tell this for everybody out there. Okay, I agree with you, Barry. Definitely. The whole thing is we're being sort of inundated with a lot of false information, but I think there's a reason for that. Okay, and the very basic reason we're being done that way is demonical. Okay, because they want to hide the truth. And how's the best way to hide the truth is amongst rumors, okay, and innuendo and lies and untruths and half truths or whatever name you want to give them. That's the best way to hide or push the truth down so that nobody can find it. They don't want us to see the real truth, so they try to cover our eyes with what's not real. And that's what I've said so many times before. We've got to be careful because in the future, these forces are going to try to manipulate and twist the very reality that we have in this existence. And that's what they're doing.
Okay, well, that circles back to the secret societies. Okay, and the truth being hidden from the general public, and everybody pretty much living under a spell. People that are not, and I'm not saying everybody's under a spell, but maybe they are. Maybe they are. We have a great question from Moon at Noon. Are black-eyed kids related to this? Is this, because they are seen as particularly demonic. Okay.
Well, there are black-eyed people too, by the way, not just kids. There's been a lot of, I've had a lot of people come up to me and said, Mr. Carroll, I seen this person and he was not, or he or she was not human. They could pick up on that. And what I said earlier on the show, about that spiritual compass inside of you. When it goes off, pay attention to it, okay? Because that's something trying to tell you a story. And I've had a lot of people say, "Oh, that person was not human." Now, what were they picking up on? I've had that situation happen. I think you have too, probably, Jessica. Where you say, you gotta wonder, is that person for real? Come on, is that somebody? Because you got a feeling, a funky feeling about that. That's not, that's disturbing you. And pay attention to that because it's probably you're picking up on something. And it's not demon face syndrome, okay? It is definitely something else going on there, without a
Mhm.
doubt. But I think that happens a lot, and that goes along with these black-eyed kids and all that. I feel they're very demonic. They're almost like vampire type things, and there may be some type of I've run into vampire spirits. Okay, I know they exist. I know they're real. I know what they can do to you. They are among some of the most dangerous spirits that you can ever mess with, because they will not only destroy people around you. They're like a spiritual bomb going off. They will destroy themselves eventually. That's what these spirits are. They're very, very destructive. That's what it's all about. Destruction, chaos, and
Destruction.
destruction.
Oh man. Oh yeah. I see that. And it's so wild when you start learning seeing these things and looking into it and us discussing these things on shows. And I'm learning so much from you, Dennis. I know the audience is too. But we're able to see it now. We're able to see it, whereas before it was kind of hidden and behind the scenes. Now it's so easy to see the stuff, for me at least. Castle Dude, hey Neil, he has a question. What does it mean when the eyes turn white completely? And I did show this picture of Lil Wayne earlier with that, but I mean
Well,
that. What does that
I've
mean?
seen that. I've seen that happen too. And what that basically is, the eyes roll back in the head. These people are under usually extreme trauma when that happens.
Okay,
The eyes go back in the head. You can't see the pupils anymore. That's basically what that is. It's not like the black eye thing, which is completely different. I think in that respect. No matter how much your eyes roll, they're not going to turn black. For that respect. But that's basically what you're seeing there. Most of the time, when you see the whites of the eyes that roll back in the head, usually that's under extreme, intense pain or trauma or some kind of emotional output thing going on there. That's usually why that happens.
Mm. Well, getting back to the demon face syndrome, uh, the article that I was reading today, they were talking about one man that had actually gotten this demon face syndrome, and they said that he was an interesting case because in this they call it PMO, uh, people's faces look distorted all the time, and that includes in photographs. So even when you look at a photograph, it's going to look like a demon. But in this man's case, he would look at a photograph and their faces look normal. But when he would see someone in person, face to face, their face would morph. So it was really odd. I know, Dennis, I don't want to say I'm suspicious of everything, but with this, I just felt like they were kind of leaving the door open a little bit for something else. It's not just this. Like get ready,
What
y'all.
you're
This was
what you're
just
dealing with, I think, Jessica, what you're
Mhm.
dealing with here is sort of facial recognition of the brain. Okay, the eye works with the brain, and we talked about this before. A lot of people have pareidolia. Some people get very mad about this. Oh, I know I saw. They'll argue with you, but pareidolia is a real thing. Okay,
Yes.
and what it is basically, and I'll run over this right quick. I don't want to bore our audience, but the eye gets the image, and I think it has to write that image up going into the brain, and the brain starts trying to make sense out of that image. Okay, it starts looking for the patterns. It's looking for facial recognition. Just like if I look at you, I say, "Well, that's Jessica. I know her." Okay, my brain knows you. Okay, because it knows your image, and it's already associated with you on that. And I think that may be something going on with this demon face syndrome thing. There may be some kind of disconnection of the facial recognition of the brain thing going on here, and it may, like I said, a psychosis. A lot of these people may be like maybe fearful of demonic possession, or maybe they've watched too many horror movies or something, or they've got this thing going on. I just don't know if you're born that way. That's what I would like to know about the demon face. Are they actually small children exhibiting this, or is it only grown people that do it, or what? It's very interesting.
Well, in this article, the guy they prefaced all this by saying that he had hit his head, so he had sustained a injury to his head where he was actually knocked out at some point. Um, because it says in some cases they're linked to head trauma, stroke, epilepsy, and migraines. Oh gosh, that's scary. 'Cause I used to get migraines.
Yeah.
I don't want to see demon faces, okay, at all, if I don't have to.
Well, that's kind of like epilepsy. Epilepsy is sort of the disconnection of the brain due to the chemicals composites in the brain. I've known people who have had epilepsy. It's a horrible thing, but it can be controlled sometimes with certain, chemicals that can be put back in the brain or something, whatever. But that might be part of it. That might be another part of it that that needs investigation. And I'm not writing it off as a completely psychosis thing. It could be something that's just like a chemical imbalance in the brain. It could be something else that may eventually cure this, but I'm not sure they're working that hard to cure it because it is so extremely rare, in that respect. If it were very prevalent, it would get more, I hate to say this, publicity, the more they would try to cure it. But it's interesting to see, and we'll keep a watch on it in the future to see where it goes with that, because it is an interesting thing. It's been around for a long time. Some writer just happened to find out about it and put it forward. It's been known for quite some time. But
Mhm.
it's just like I said, very extremely rare. You know.
It is. It is. But we're hearing a whole lot more about people watching shapeshifters. My goodness, there was an incident on an airplane this past year of a lady who said, "I'm not sitting by that MFer," or whatever. The lady that
Yeah.
freaked out on the plane because apparently she was acting as though she had seen some sort of a reptilian shapeshifter or something sitting on the plane. So
Yeah.
no, I'm hearing about that more now.
And I just wonder, we'd probably be all freaked out if we could actually see what inside of some people. It would probably very badly affect us. Maybe it's a good thing we can't. But anyway, like I said before, that when that spiritual compass goes off, when that meter goes off, you pay attention to it. The perfectly possessed is reference to Malachi Martin. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. That would take a whole nother show probably to go into. But uh, Malachi was sort of the premier case on something like that. Definitely. Um, there is, I don't know, it's kind of an oxymoron to say it's perfect possession. Okay, I don't like the term that. It's kind of freaky, but I would say it would be probably profound possession. Put it that way, to be so profoundly possessed that you have to wonder. But even that, he came back from that. You know what I'm saying? There is hope for these things, definitely, without a doubt. I would think, to me, uh, there are there are, and I know this doubt. I'm not going to get into this very technical, but there are different levels of possession. Okay, that you got to look at. There's oppression, and then there's possession. They're two completely different things, but I mean they work together to accomplish what they're supposed to be doing. It's very deep stuff.
Wow. Okay, for the audience who's listening in, Barry Littleton had asked, please have Dennis discuss the perfectly possessed as referenced by Malachi Martin. Now, Malachi Martin, I don't know who Malachi Martin is. Is that connected to The Exorcist, that movie?
Yeah.
Is he who that was made after? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Well, he was he
Oh, go
was
ahead.
so possessed, Jessica. Eventually, when he got back possession of his body, he didn't remember a lot of that, which is really, you might say, a gift that you not remember that, in that respect. He went on and not remember. He had very faint memories of it. That's what they said. I would love to have talked to him, definitely, but he's a very private person. But I read a lot about the case on that, and you could term it as sort of a perfect case of it in that respect, clinically speaking, you might say. Uh, but it was very profound, and guess how it started? Ouija board stuff. Okay.
Lord. That doesn't
Yeah.
surprise me at all. It doesn't surprise me. Now, there's another facet to that case too, and I believe that you and I talked about this before, where the furniture from that home, wasn't that furniture put in storage by our government?
Oh yeah. Some of that was done later. Well, it was also the hospital that he was in was torn down as well. I think eventually, and I've talked about that before. It seems as if wherever these kind of horrific things happen, it stains the very land, the very surroundings of where it has. It's sort of like a spiritual bomb going off, and it leaves destruction behind. And it's never good after that. I've seen a lot of houses. I've seen a lot of locations that way. I've been to murder locations where you could pick up on that darkness that was still there. Years and years later, I mean, not just a few days later. I'm talking about years, maybe even a decade or so later. You still pick up on that being there. You still have that residual thing going on, and you got to wonder if it, happens in a lot of locations with houses, even furniture. And I had a case with furniture where that has happened. Be very careful what you bring into your life. That's the main thing about it. And I'm gonna be doing a 2-hour seminar tonight on how to fight the shadows, how to self-defense against the darkness. And we've got to remember very carefully that what we bring into our lives, the people we let into our lives, the objects we bring in, the books we read, the music we listen to, the movies we watch, all of this has a profound effect on us, whether we know it or not. Eventually, it does.
It does. And so just be very aware of everything that you consume, everything that we consume, because there is some sort of weird agenda to really bring us down. And that's like even bringing down our vibrational frequency. Okay. And taken over our souls. It's a fight for our souls. And that's where this whole thing with the dark against light, light's going to win, y'all. Okay. It will. But there's a fight going on right now. For our souls. So just be aware of that. And everybody, please tune in tonight to Dennis's channel, Hunting the Shadows. His seminar is going to be fantastic. And I will definitely be there in the chat tonight. Dennis, this has been amazing. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing your knowledge with us.
My pleasure.
It just means the world to me. I really do appreciate it. I know the audience enjoyed it. And yeah, do you have any final thoughts? I mean, you pretty much summed it up right there. But any final thoughts on shapeshifters and secret societies?
Well, let me say this, and I'm going to be talking about this tonight too. The eyes, the ears, the mouth, the intellect, those are the gateways to our soul. Let's guard our gates well, okay?
Guard your gates. Ooh, I like that. I love that. Guard our gates, yes. And put on that armor of God, okay, every day.
Right.
When you get up, before you go out, and put yourself in a protective energy bubble as well. And that's what I like to do personally. And thank you, Long Island Bigfoot. Keep shining and sharing. Thank you so much for that super sticker. You're the best. I appreciate that. Yeah, well, this has been fantastic. Dennis, can you tell everybody where to find you on YouTube? I've got your channel here up on the screen.
Yeah, it's Hunting the Shadows YouTube. That's every night, Wednesday night. Tonight it'll be 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Usually it's 9 o'clock, but tonight it's 8. It's a 2-hour seminar. And then also on Friday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I have Paranormal Point of View, where we talk about all things paranormal related, movies and the whole works. And also you can reach me at DennisWCarroll.com. That's my website. And you can reach me through that if you want to email me or whatever the situation. And you can contact me through that as well. And my books are available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. Just look up Dennis W. Carroll.
Oh my gosh. Yes, you guys, please go support Dennis. And Dennis, I hope you'll come back and hang out with me some more in the future. We have the best discussions. We really do.
Anytime.
Okay. Oh my gosh, thank you. All right, everybody. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I know you did. I can see y'all in the chat right now. Everybody enjoyed it, and I hope you guys will come back tomorrow night at 8 p.m. I have a great remote viewing show. I'm debating on which target to do, but it's probably going to be, I have remote viewed that anomaly that was in the ocean that came out of Antarctica. So we may be talking about that one tomorrow night, but I'll be making that announcement this evening. Okay. So please come see me tomorrow night and then come back Saturday night. I have a show at 10 p.m. every Saturday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. And then Sunday night, I'll be at Spaced Out Radio at 10 p.m. Eastern. So you guys come see me. And Dennis, have a wonderful day. You guys stay safe out there. And be sure you lock your doors. Be mindful of what everybody's consuming. Okay. And and have a wonderful day. Thank you, Dennis. I'll see you tonight in your chat. Okay. All right. Bye, y'all. Have a great day.